But the first fundamental hire, I think, is
businesses that do scale to 8 figures. They don't just have a very good new customer acquisition strategy, they also have a very good way of
I think that's the biggest lever you need to start building as an e-commerce founder to really get to that next level.
I feel like it gets a bad rep for like low quality or whatever, and dude, is like a hidden gem.
That's why they get paid more. If somebody can turn $1 into 2 or 1 into 3, they're gonna get paid. You know, this is kind of like you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, only if you have a good team. There's one thing that can help everybody to make sure that all these people, the work together perfectly, and it's just consuming you so much, which is stopping you from taking care of the things that actually matter and move the needle forward.
Kind of having an agency, you're never gonna be
Welcome to this episode. In today's episode, we are going to discuss something that probably nobody else really discusses, right?
Yeah.
And that's how to build a team that can scale your e-commerce business to 8 figures. Many people can get to 7 figures, but we've noticed working with 7 and 8 figure clients that there's a big difference between the 7-figure e-commerce brands and how they structure their team and build their enterprise compared to 8-figure e-commerce brands. So in this video, in this episode with Jordan, we are going to discuss and dissect exactly the people you need to hire, how they should work together, and systems and processes and pretty much standard operating procedures that you need to build to get to that next level. And with no further ado, let's get started. I'm here with Jordan.
No, great to be here. Super excited for this one. It's one that, as I said, no one talks about, especially agencies. Like, we're 2 agency owners. We work with e-commerce brands, as you said, 7-8 figures. Like, it's what we do on a daily basis, right? It's our business. And you may be wondering why you agency owners talking about how to build, a team even in house. And it's just we just want to lay all the information out there and show you guys how we've done it in our agencies, because we've been through multiple iterations of our team, like different structures, and I think over the course of years, right? So this is years of knowledge. I just want to make sure, that we're qualified to speak on this, because it's years of trial and error, failure, but eventually getting it to a point where it's lean, efficient, everything works together smoothly.
And profitable.
Let's
so if there's one thing, like disclaimer, like there's many agency owners that might really give you all of the cons of building an in-house team. We will we will 100% keep this conversation unbiased because we generally care for your success and we want you to do good, right? And so we will have an unbiased conversation about this. So what are the pros? What are the cons? Because there are many pros of building an in-house team. And there are also pros of building or working with an agency or outsourcing it to an agency. But there's also cons on both sides, right? So we'll be super transparent, no biased opinion. And let's get it going.
Okay, so I guess let's get right into it. There's no messing around. Where do we start, right? You have, I guess, like you were saying, to get to 7 figures, you're doing one thing, but to get to 8 figures, you need to change the thing that you're doing, right? So 7 figures, you likely have got there like alone, very lean. Maybe you've worked with an agency, maybe you've worked with a few freelancers. I know brands that the founder has run the ads and they've got, just working with like an editor, and they've got the business 7 figures, like early 7-figure stage. If a brand is at, let's just say, that early 7-figure stage, and they want to start getting to the mid-high 7 figures, even crossing 8 figures, like, where do you even start if you wanted to look at like building your own team?
Let's first let's answer that question in just a second. I want to first make sure that we identify exactly what a typical early 7-figure entrepreneur, what their setup is. Let's go through that. So like, I'm doing 7 figures. Typically the case is that you have a winning offer, a winning product, a winning landing page. It's kind of one on every aspect. And so the business is very dependable or dependent on that one thing that is working for you. And so as soon as that crashes, everything crashes. And so it's typically you're maybe alone, you're doing your ads, you maybe have 1 or 2 editors. One is a graphic designer, one is a video editor. You are probably the creative strategist, or maybe you also have somebody part-time that helps you with that. But you don't have, most likely, a systematized way to scale your ad creatives and do it at scale, right? With while maintaining quality. I think that's the biggest lever that you need to start building as an e-commerce founder to really get to that next level. Because let's be honest, like it doesn't work. Like you can't just increase your budget, right? That it's not how it works. So if you want to increase your budget, you need to have an infrastructure that supports the increase in budget to make it profitable. And how do you do that? We need to build a team. So I think the biggest lever that you need to start pulling to get to that 8-figure mark is really thinking about how can I build a creative team that can really pump as many high quality creatives, that understands market research, that understands scripting, right? That understands how to do, implement a bunch of different strategies to just like pump a bunch of creatives and test aggressively at scale.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say as well, like when you look at the other areas of the business, right? Like that's more like customer acquisition side, right? And that's really, really important to scale like ad spend and therefore like new customer acquisition and new customer acquisition revenue.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about like LTV and retention, like how do you actually build that side of the business? And that's, we'll get into that as well where, okay, you need to be building like, you need to have like some head of retention, life cycle marketing, like someone who's doing the email for you, but also looking at the customer journey and saying post-purchase, depending on how they came in, what are we going to do? And like, what are these people going to see afterwards?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I see as well. The businesses that do scale to 8 figures, they don't just have a very good new customer acquisition strategy. They also have a very good way of retaining those customers and getting them to come back and purchase again, whether it's through launching more products, whether it's through subscription programs, effective like cross-sell flows after the purchase, all these things. So yeah, if you say like, okay, this is where you are right now, I would say that nail your creative first on the front end, like get new customer acquisition to a place where you can scale it. Then I'd say tackle the retention side. Yeah. Just because I think honestly the retention side is a little bit easier.
I think most businesses have like when you're doing like 4 or 5 million a year, 6 million a year, 7 million a year, you're not just at the 8-figure mark. And when we say 8 figures, we don't necessarily mean like just 10 million. We mean like 15 million, 20 million, like that type of scale, that type of e-commerce business, right? So typically what I noticed is that they have an infrastructure for creatives. It's not scalable. They definitely have an infrastructure for email marketing, but they're not scaling. They're just not leveraging email marketing at its full potential. So they're maybe sending 1 or 2 emails a week instead of sending like 3 or 4. Segmenting, cleaning lists, like all these like the things that are like very granular, they're not doing. And then of course they're not, when I say like they're not leveraging email marketing at its full potential, it's also because they're not scaling and adding different product lines. Because if you want email marketing to work at its full potential, you need to add new offers and new products to make it work in a better way, right?
Understood. Yeah, makes sense. Let's talk about the actual team then, the actual members of the team that you need, starting with like, I guess, customer acquisition side. If you were to, let's just say we're scaling the creative, right, the volume, having that system in place. And as you mentioned, maybe you're already working with a few different people here and there. Where do you start? What is the key position that maybe that person needs to fill first to really start to get the benefits of the creative side?
I think the main benefit, one of the most important hires is that you should be the director. You should be, we divide companies in pods. One pod has 10 employees, 5 employees, 15 employees, whatever that is, and can fulfill for us X amount of clients, right? So if you want to build your own in-house team, you're just going to have a pod that's just going to fulfill your brand, right? And so you should be at the top of the pod initially as the director of the pod and kind of like see and have a 30,000 foot view on the top of what's going on. You shouldn't be micromanaging, but you should be controlling and taking a look at what, people are doing within the operation, within the company. But the first fundamental hire, I think, is marketing related. And it should be a creative strategist. So somebody that knows marketing, that knows ads, that knows UGC, and knows scripting, knows how to put together all of these pieces to make something go viral, do great hooks, and just build amazing ads. Because the reality is that finding good editors might be a bit hard, but you'll find them. Like you can train editors. Like it's that type of kind of like role. You can train them. But training a creative strategist, That's why they get paid more. It's much harder.
Yeah.
It's much harder because if somebody can turn $1 into two or one into three just because of the way that they're gonna get paid. So finding that role, right? And you can also have it part-time. You don't need a full-time creative strategist because then it's maybe you can't afford it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can also hire them. You can have there's fractional kind of hires, like fractional CMO, fractional. There's probably a fractional creative strategist that you can hire initially so that they can come in like a couple times a week because that's when you need them to write the right scripts and direct the editors and the creative team to pump what needs to be pumped, essentially.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say this, like recently did a podcast with my creative strategist.
Oh yeah, true.
Just like last week. And obviously this is very fresh in my mind as well. But the thing with the creative strategist is that they also need, like, they have that consumer psychology brain. They know the copywriting side. So very creative, and they can envision how a creative is going to look at the end after all the edits before it's even like started, right? It's at the idea phase and they can see that vision. So there's that side of things, but I think the creative strategist also needs to bring a level of organization and structure to the way that you do creative, whether it's through organized Google Drive folders, Dropbox, whatever you use, through to like how you onboard and manage creators. We could talk about a separate role for that, but keeping it, I guess, lean and trying to optimize it as possible. And also through to even just the way that you project manage creatives, right? Because creatives go through different phases of ideation to filming to editing to ready to launch.
We'll talk about, we can dissect that process.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Creative strategist is a super, super important role. And I mean, hard to find. I would even say that it is possible to find someone who can do creative strategy and media buying. Like we have those people in our company. Even harder to find, right? But they do exist. But again, like you're likely going to need to pay a bit more for those people, but you get two roles in one. So it's really up to you. Like it depends who's currently running your ads. If it's yourself, or maybe you have a media buyer that you're happy with.
You should start hiring what is harder to scale, because like managing your ads, technically you could manage your ads. You can go in a couple times a week, 2-3 times a week, go in, look at the ad account, switch things, right? But the most important thing is that you have an input. Like you're creating an output with creatives, and that's the hardest thing to scale. And so this would be my first hire, I would say. So let's go maybe down and dissect the process, and maybe also talk about other hires that are required to build kind of like a creative infrastructure that pumps in creative. So in your agency, for example, what other people are kind of like related to the creative strategy role? What are your processes to like start from, like give me like step 1, step 2, step 3 until you have a final creative? What does that process look like for you?
Yeah. So I'll lay out all the roles first, and then I'll tell you where each one falls into the steps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I mentioned, we have some people in our team that are media buyers and creative strategists, but we also have dedicated creative strategists. So if we're talking about dedicated creative strategist, that's one role. Another role is we call them a creative editor. It's basically someone who's a video editor and a graphic designer, both skill sets into one. And we also have someone who helps onboard creators, just more of the creator relations, a lot of the agreement side, all that stuff, because it takes time, right? It doesn't seem like it from the outside, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like we keep it very, very streamlined. The creative strategist also does the copywriting for the briefs. They also do all the research. So the way that it works is that everything starts from the creative strategist, right? They are the idea makers. They're coming up with the vision. From the research, they get ideas for angles, for ads, and then they start to build a brief around, we have these frameworks, and I know you have as well in your agency, where basically frameworks are, I guess, structures of ads that are proven to work, right? So it could be a 3 reasons why video. It could be 3 ways X, Y, Z, like some sort of structure that you follow. So they're coming up with that. Then they are working with the person that onboards the creators to say, okay, maybe we need new creators, or maybe we can work with an existing creator in a database that matches the demographic that we're going after.
So that role is basically a UGC manager.
Yeah,
right?
like a creator coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also have like a virtual assistant to do this
Yeah.
initially. It would be better if you have somebody that knows exactly what they're. In fact, our UGC production manager, she used to be a UGC creator,
Right.
so she knows exactly what it means to like receive messages from brands
Yeah.
and also the other side we're pitching to UGC creators, right,
Yeah.
to come up with a collaboration. So I guess that's an extra role that I forgot to mention.
Yeah. And that's important, just to touch on that a little bit, because if you think about it, if UGC creation and creators are driving results for you, the relationships you have with those creators is really, really important, right? Because if one of those creators drops off, but they're a really good performer for you, then that's going to impact you in
Yeah.
some way, right? So not only do you need multiple creators to, if that happens, you're not affected, but also you can build relationships with each of these creators and go deeper with them and structure a deal with them that
Yeah.
they're committed to.
Yeah.
And that's why you need this separate role, at least in our opinion.
Yeah.
Look, maybe if you hire a creative strategist full time just for your brand, they're going to have extra time to do that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we also look at it from a perspective of if it's more like the admin side of tasks and the pay rate, let's just say, is lower,
Yeah.
then maybe it doesn't make sense for a creative strategist who you're paying much more to do that work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just thinking
yeah.
about it that way.
It's like not worth
Their time.
their time. Like it's cheaper labor.
Yeah.
If we have to be transparent here, because the person that, look, first of all, we need to understand that a creative strategist can give ideas, but the output will not be generated if there's not if you don't collaborate with creators, right? Because the creators are basically the entire operation of why creatives work in the first place. And I think we've started to shift our entire approach of doing ads into just making them UGC ads, user-generated content, because it's what's working, like raw, authentic UGC ads. And so we've kind of like dissected and created an entire process, and our entire hiring funnel is based on UGC and scaling UGC, at least for me, mostly. And then, of course, we have graphic designers who just do image ads, but it's mostly on this principle of scaling UGC. So one thing that I wanted to say is that you can have the creative strategist, great ideas, great everything, but if they don't have the creators, it's going to be tough. So I always recommend to have a full pipeline of creators that you can work with. And so when we work with our clients, we start getting with like 10, 15, 20 in the pipeline. And so if 5, drop out because they're on vacation, they're having babies, and they're doing this, and because they're humans and they waste time and they have, shit happens in life, right? And so we have always a backup plan, and we always have somebody to work with and rely on. And so the ideal, typically 8-figure brands have around 30 to 50 like really perfect UGC collaborations nailed down, so that they can rely on those people to like shoot content and then move on and scale that way.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with you, and we have that for our clients. There's one caveat that I would add, where if you're a brand that you sell very expensive products in the thousands of dollars, even like high hundreds of dollars, it doesn't make sense for you to send a bunch of product out to like a ton of creators. What we've seen, the brands we work with that have high AOV, that are at that 8-figure stage or even like high 7-figure stage, they work with either a small handful of creators, or they have an in-house creator who shoots content with the products in a warehouse, or they have them in their house, and they're basically using the product. That's just a way that you can do it.
I have a trick for that. So we have a client that's doing 8 figures that sells like $600-700 products.
Yeah.
The way that we do it is that, yes, it's kind of like we have like more like the perfect ideal 10-15 creators. But what we do is that to avoid stock, so there's 2 solutions to that. We either partner with a creator and send them the product, and we pay them less. And so it's a long-term collaboration. So they own the product, and whenever we request another video, they already have it installed in their house or whatever it is. So it's in their house. Another solution that you can do that's scalable to kind of like, if you're sending like a $2,000 TV, I mean, it's $2,000 worth of product. So you can have just like a set amount of inventory, 5 to 10, where you can send it and then they have to send it back. So that's so you pay for the video, you pay for their time, you pay for the creator, but then they have to send the TV back, so that, or whatever. I'm just saying TVs, right? And then you can use and ship that TV to ship it to somebody else. That's something that we've done sometimes, and it works fine.
So let's shift back to the team side. So we're talking about creative strategist, UGC coordinator / manager. Then you have the editor, which for us is like the third position. As you said, good editors, hard to find, but it's more doable, and you can train them. You can just give them like ad editing course, like hire someone who knows like e-commerce and UGC ads and that stuff. Like they know how to do it. But if they need a little bit of refinement, they should learn the ropes quickly.
Yeah.
We like to have both the roles in one. So someone who can do video and images. I know you separate them out, so we can give both perspectives on that. For us, yeah, if you find someone with both skill sets, it's harder to find again. You're likely gonna have to pay that person a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hire this person freelance anyway. Like as an ecom brand owner, us obviously they're full time in house, but for an ecom brand owner at that stage, even if they're editing like 30 videos, 40 videos a month, even more, you only need them like freelance part time. You don't need to hire someone full time. And I don't know if you want to talk about like where to source these people, because we found a lot of like, I know you have a lot of people in Europe. I have a lot of people in South America. Like there's ways that you can hire like amazing talent.
Yeah.
And you can save on the cost side. Maybe we can get into that. Maybe that's for a different episode. But at least that's my structure of the creative team. Let me know how yours is different, especially with that role.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about where to hire and everything, but just to give some nuggets, like platforms that are really amazing are, first of all, word of mouth between your network.
Yep.
That's probably one of the best ones. Upwork and LinkedIn are where at least I found the best talent.
Same.
Would you agree?
Yep. Yeah. Facebook groups is like hit and miss. I have found decent people. But yeah, Upwork's so underrated. I feel like Upwork gets a bad rep for like low quality or whatever. And dude, Upwork is like a hidden gem. Like if you do it right, it's
The only thing that I don't like about Upwork is that the search terms are just really off. So if you look for like Facebook ad media buyer, it'll give you somebody doing SEO as well. So you have to go through all the pages and do your own diligence. But those are great platforms. So that's the structure that you have is very similar to what I have as well, and it works super well. I want to talk about one strategy that's really working well for us that allows scale to happen and that allows all of these team members that we hired to get the most out of them. Okay, so the strategy is related to this thing that I just explained. So what's really working well for us is scaling with like B-rolls and voiceovers. And so what I wanted to do is bring everybody through the exact same process that we use to essentially get 10, 20 videos from like one creator, right? And you know, if you're doing 7 figures, if you have your own e-commerce business, you probably know that paying one creator for one video and 3 hooks, which is what most people do, is very expensive.
Yeah.
It's $200. Plus now there's inflation, so everybody's charging more. So it's like $300 for a couple of videos. Yeah. And you don't even know if it's gonna work. And many people don't think about doing a B-roll approach where it's the same exact price, $200 for 15, 20, 25 pieces of B-rolls, which are pieces of footage. Yep. So 3 to 10 seconds. And we also tell them we have specific instructions and we tell these creators to like leave like 2 to 3 seconds blank at the beginning of the video, 2 to 3 seconds at the end, so that we can always have super raw content and edit and adjust in how we want. The only caveat is that you cannot do this if you don't have editors that are good and that understand how to put things together, if you don't have a good script writer, because then like, you know, this is kind of like you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, only if you have a good team. Yeah. Because if you're alone and you don't know how to put all these pieces together,
it's a mess.
It's a complete mess. And so you might as just well hire the entire, the creator to do the entire thing, the script, the voiceover, the editing and everything. But it's too expensive and it's not scalable. So we've actually put, you know, we apply like an 80%, 20% rule. The 20% goes towards putting our energies in creative that we know 100% is going to work just based on past data. And we put all of those resources and that budget into like, you know, creators that are more expensive for that one video. So 1 video, 3 hooks, $300, fine, it's expensive, but I know
it's going to work.
That it's going to work, right? And then the 80% is more all about like B-rolls and putting things together. And so the editors at the bottom, what are they doing? We give them three things. We give them a bunch of B-rolls so they can choose a bunch of videos. Then we give them a script from our creative strategist. So they have the B-rolls, right? The script, they just have to match. And we also give them a winning ad from one of our clients' best direct competitors, which is what they need to model so that they have a visual representation of what we're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we have a similar approach. The one thing we do with creators, and I think has been very helpful, is that we get them to record those B-rolls as like separate videos. So we get them as separate files. And then we started building these things for our clients called block libraries. It's basically, we've kind of not ditched Google Drive. Google Drive is still there, but we're using a separate platform called air.inc. We're paying for it. We're paying for all of this for our clients. It's a huge value add, but basically we're uploading all content into here, all these individual pieces of B-roll, like someone putting on a t-shirt, someone combing their hair, like, but it's very specific, like girl with blonde hair, combing hair while smiling.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the tag, and everything is uploaded as an individual piece so that our editors and our creative strategists, when they want to find this content and reuse it, it's very, very easy to find.
Oh, yeah. It gets messy very fast.
Oh, yeah.
What is the tool called?
So the platform itself is air.inc.
Does it tag with AI?
No.
Or you have to go and manually tag it?
Right now we have someone manually doing it, manually uploading all content, manually tagging. It takes a lot of time, and it's an expense that we
there's this platform, I'm not sure if you know it, Canto.
No.
Yeah, it does similar things, and it also tags with AI. So it analyzes the piece of creative and it puts tags.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's better if you do it manually.
Yep.
So you write the perfect keywords, and your entire team, can find the videos easily. If it's not like this, it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a complete mess. I've been through that mess.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare.
I have as well. I'd say don't underestimate the importance of just having organization. Like as you grow further and further and further, you might already start to see this as like a 7-figure brand owner where maybe you're producing like a decent amount of creative. If you were to go into your Drive folder right now, is it organized by creator? Is it organized by angle? Like something, right, that you can nail down to. Like the basics, the fundamentals are what's going to allow you, like it may seem like a waste of time, a waste of money, but this is what's going to allow you to save money in the long term because you're going to be able to reuse that content.
Do you need to do this to make your first million? No. Okay, just launch the product, make money, be profitable, whatever. But if you want to get to the next level and hire all these people need to work in an environment that is like an organized environment. You can't just hire them and tell them do your thing. It doesn't work like that. And what I'd also like to discuss is building systems and processes to allow these people to work together. So hiring and building an in-house team, right? The pros is that they're in-house. You're in control. The con is that it's very hard to manage these people. So you need to hire a manager. You need to hire a person that can manage the people you hired, which is what I said before, right? Which is kind of like weird.
But otherwise you end up managing them yourself, right? So you're spending, it's like a time thing, right? Like, okay, you only have so much like margin or profit to actually hire a team first and foremost. Then you have to think about where do you want to spend your time as a founder? What is your expertise? Is it in product? Is it in ops? Is it in marketing, right? You may be a killer media buyer and creative strategist, and that's maybe where you spend your time. But you have to audit that and say, like, what are you gonna do yourself versus what are you gonna hire for? And even outsource, right? You can outsource other areas of the business, not just marketing. So think about that.
If there's one thing that can help everybody to make sure that all these people, the editor, the creative strategist, the graphic designer, work together perfectly, is having a documentation process or a document where everybody can go in and know what's up, know what's happening. So we call this the command center, where it's a universal sheet where we have like 15 sheets within this universal kind of like Google sheet, where there's like ad copies filtered by angles. Then there's the email marketing flows. There's a CRO. templates, right? And so there's all the departments of our companies, including like data's like how much did the clients, like we have a sheet, a reporting sheet just for ads. So we can go in the sheet and all of my team can just go in the sheet and see, okay, in this week, the client spent X and this was the ROI. So it's very, very transparent, but it's a documentation process. And this documentation process allows to work to happen smoothly through all of the team members.
And that's great. Like I said, everyone needs to be on the same page, right? Because if someone's not, then it's also messy. Let's maybe shift gears a little bit. So we spoke about the creative team, right? We spoke about those roles.
Yeah.
I guess the media buying side is a different one as well, right? Like, yes, it's maybe you could say not as important anymore, but it's still like, especially if you're spending like 5K, 6K, 7K a day, you're uploading a lot of creatives. There's a lot of work going into that. So maybe you need a separate media buyer. Maybe you continue to do it yourself. If you are good at the media buying yourself and you want to continue doing that, maybe just hire like a junior that you like can do a lot of the manual work for you, such as uploading all these creatives, launching all these creatives, because honestly, that's easy, right? The hard part, the expertise comes in is making the decisions with data.
Yeah.
So another one to consider, because ultimately we're starting to stack costs now, right? Creative strategist is expensive. Hiring a media buyer is expensive. Freelance editors, okay, maybe not so much, but it's still an extra cost. Freelance UGC, man, like still an extra cost, right? So it's something to think about. And maybe, as I mentioned, if you can find someone who can do creative strategy and media buying, harder to find, but it's still possible. Maybe you can kill two birds at once.
My advice is that if you're a founder and you're on your ad account, you're in the wrong place, man. Like it's like it doesn't make sense. If you want to get to that next level, it just doesn't make sense. And so we just hired a client that I think we're gonna crush it. They went from like 0 to like 7 million with them and like 3 or 4 employees. Basically, the structure that we went. And typically, we don't see this happen like quite frequently. But they just got a trend, and when you got a trend and it works, good creative, it's just you can blow up, right? The challenge now is maintaining that and increasing that threshold, right? And so they were in the ad account. They were being the creative strategist. The problem is that if you're still in control as a multi-7-figure founder within the ad account and you're spending your resources, even if it doesn't take you a lot to manage, it's still in the back of your mind. You're still thinking about ads before you go to bed. You're still doing all these things. And it's just consuming you so much, which is stopping you from taking care of the things that actually matter and move the needle forward, which is what? Scaling product line, increasing the quality of your product, making sure your customers are happy, making sure they come back, like all these extra things that get you to that next level. You couldn't do. You wouldn't have the time or the bandwidth to do it if you're in the ad account yourself.
Yeah, I agree. It's a leverage point, right? Ultimately, you have to buy back your time. Most founders, at least from my perspective, most founders are good at products, right? Because they bring a product to market, right? They may start with white labeling or whatever, but eventually to build a brand, they end up developing their own thing. Yeah. So they tend to be good at products, right? Not all of them, or not many of them, are good at like marketing and selling it, which is why I guess
it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. You want to talk about maybe like the retention side of the business and how that works and the team for that side?
Yeah. So retention side is mostly email marketing, email and SMS marketing. There's loyalty programs. We have the structure that we use for email marketing, at least for us, is that we have a lead email marketing strategist. We have a copywriter. So the lead email marketing strategist is basically in charge of the entire strategy. So they know what flows need to be set up, what campaigns need to be launched. They are in charge of the campaign calendar. They fill it up with ideas. And they're also typically a great copywriter. But on top of that, they also typically have a copywriting assistant that just writes the copy, that knows everything about, basically a great copywriter, specifically for email. So these are the main two hires. Then we have a Figma designer, which is the person that designs all of the emails. And so once we have the email lead give an idea, the idea goes to the email designer.
Right.
And of course connected with the copywriter, because they can't do a design without copy. And so once they receive the idea and the copy, they put everything into a Figma design. And then we also have a VA, a virtual assistant, that basically creates sections. I'm not sure how to call it, like frames.
Yeah, frames that implement into Klaviyo.
Yeah, so they divide the entire design. Let's just say the design is this long. They basically frame it so that they can create their screenshots, essentially, so that they can put them from Figma into Klaviyo and then add some texts for like HTML text, right?
Yeah.
And then that's basically the structure. That's how we're structured. The most important thing with email is be very, very diligent and consistent with sending weekly emails. You have your flows, whatever, all of those are important, but sending like 2, 3, 4 emails per week that are super segmented is really, really important to get to that next level when it comes to email.
Yeah. We're very similar. Like the one thing I'll say with that is similar to how you would send like a very consistent number of emails per week campaigns. It's like similar to how we look at ad creative. Like if a client is like, depending on how much a client is spending, we produce a certain number of ad creatives every single week. It's like a consistent flow of maybe like 7 creatives a week, 8 creatives a week, 10 creatives a week, depending on the scale. Email is like, I guess you could look at it in a similar way. We're sending maybe like 3 campaigns a week, 4 campaigns a week, different segments. It depends on the data that we're seeing, the engagement metrics, open rate, click rate, deliverability, all that stuff.
Yeah.
With our email marketing team structure, we combine that strategy and copywriting role into one. You can find these people. Again, it's harder to find. What we do is we find people who are copywriters first, because it's really, really hard to train someone on copywriting. It's possible, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to take years.
Really
So find someone who's already good at copy and they already know their way around Klaviyo. It's easier to train someone on like how to look at the data and say, maybe even like train them a little bit on like LTV and lifecycle marketing.
Yeah.
Put them through a course. Like they're going to learn that very quickly. So we combine them into one. You could even get like your designer who designs your ads to design the emails, right? Like you could pair that into one. We also have a VA who, so another thing about email is the data, right? So you can strategize, you can write the emails, you can design the emails, you can implement them, you can send them, you can set up the flows, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the data in Klaviyo is a little bit like, it's not congregated. I know you can see like dashboards and stuff, but what we like to do is we like to take the data out of Klaviyo, we like to put it into a spreadsheet, and we have every single data metric that we want to track and percentage increases and decreases week over week. And to get that data into Klaviyo, like we've tried to build automations. It's harder than it seems. So we have a VA to pull that data in every single week, right? So again,
so you get the data from Klaviyo into like a CSV, or is that
we do it manually?
Manually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything from like revenue per recipient, all that stuff, because you need to be seeing like how are you tracking week over week, because you can see the breakdown of campaigns in Klaviyo, great. But how do you draw correlations between what's working and what's not working? And if there's a big increase and decrease, you can investigate why that is. So again, like data, any data is important, right? Similar on your ad side, you need good data. Email is the same.
Yeah. And I think with email, the highest lever you can pull is really start to build a loyal VAP list of customers that are loyal. And we need to be creative on how to treat them well, give them the gifts, the gift cards, and make sure that they come back. And at the end of the day, like unless you have a consumable product where it's like a repeat purchase, you're gonna have to start adding extra layers to your website. So extra products, same niche, doesn't have to be a different niche, like same exact industry, same exact domain, everything, but more layers.
Complementary products.
Yeah, complementary. So there's 2 ways to scale typically to 8 figures or multiple 8 figures. Is like you either have a subscription offer or a repeat purchase or consumable. You either have more products or you do both at the same time. And we have some clients that leverage both of these superpowers, call them whatever you want, and it works very well.
Yeah, I always say if you can implement a subscription model, do it. It's a no-brainer. Like, and again, it has to be consumable. It has to be something that you can replace, right? But you can get creative, right? You may think that if you sell clothing, you can't make a subscription program. You probably can. I've seen True Classic do this. They're testing. Last time I checked, they were testing it a bunch. But some sort of club, some way that if you subscribe and save, but give them perks, right? Give them reasons why they should come back and purchase again, but on a recurring basis, so you don't have to reacquire that customer.
Yeah. Either way, these are ideas that should come from the founder. Yeah. I think like we kind of dissected into the conversation about team, just because this is more about, at the end of the day, it's still team, because the founder is an employee of the company. That's how I see it. And so they have their own role, and I think it should be something they should really focus their time on.
Yeah.
product launches, VAP customers, making sure they're happy and satisfied, and stuff like that.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess any other positions, because we have some clients, for example, they do some SEO, they do affiliate marketing, like ads and email is not the be all end all of ecom brands. Like you have organic, right?
Yeah, I wanted to touch base on one thing. Like there's one major difference between 7 and 8 figure businesses, and that's CRO. Like I've always seen that. So the CRO is split testing your landing pages, your advertorial titles, products, pricing, dynamic pricing. And so that's a very, very big kind of like department that requires a lot of energy and a lot of analytics. So the way that we do it is that we have several people within this this department, but we have a CRO strategist that basically takes the lead. And then we have like developers on the back end that can serve the ideas that the CRO expert or strategist kind of leads with for implementation. So if we need a section to be changed, there's a dev that can go in and change it for him, right? The CRO specialist is not the developer. He just knows everything about CRO, how to increase conversion rate, how to increase average order value. And what we typically do is that we do one test a week. So, but you cannot do one test a week if you're doing $1 million a month, like a year.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a bit of scale and volume. So typically 250 orders is enough to identify whether a split test was a winner or a loser. So we do one a week, and we noticed that, and we've done this for a bit now. We noticed that if you keep on doing one once a week, and you even increase conversion rate by 0.15%, right, every month, by the end of the year, you'll see that you can see a conversion rate go from like 2.2% to 2.8, 2.93%. And that changes your entire business.
Huge difference.
Changes your entire business. So a lot of people don't understand that the businesses that get to 8 figures because they have strong economics, they have a strong average order value, a strong conversion rate. And you don't get there just by magic or just by
running Facebook ads.
Facebook ads. Yeah. It's a combination of split testing and making things work, like forcing it to make it work. Yeah, right.
It's a great point. I always say to brand owners and videos on my YouTube channel as well, like you need to be pulling as many levers as you can for your business, right, to make it work, because ad costs are rising. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
Trying to compete and trying to lower your CPA, yes, you can do it through great creative, but ultimately you're going to find, especially as you want to scale, there's diminishing returns on that side. You need to be pulling like conversion rate lever, AOV lever, LTV. These things is what's going to allow your business to win out against your competitors in the long run. On the CRO side, completely agree. The strategist, like we have the exact same structure where we have the CRO strategist, they're looking at heat maps, whether it's heatmap.com, Microsoft Clarity.
What tools are you using? Are you using IntelliGems?
Yeah, so we're using IntelliGems. IntelliGems for A/B testing, right? It's a replacement of Google Optimize.
Let's explain what it is for people that don't.
So I'll break down like from the beginning to the end, like the tools. I'd say the first thing is a data analysis, heat mapping, session recording tool to actually see how people are interacting with your website.
Why is that important?
It's important because you need somewhere to start. You can't blindly come up with tests. It's similar to the way that you do research for creative. You're just shooting in the dark. You're just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks.
So who looks at these heat maps? Is it the
strategist, CRO
strategist? CRO strategist, specialist, okay.
Yeah. So they're looking at the heat maps, user behavior. Depending on how someone's interacting with the website, that can be the reason for coming up with a hypothesis to then come up with a test, right? We're not seeing a lot of interaction on our product image carousel, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? Okay, first image not strong enough. Second image not strong. Let's change that up. Something like that, right? Once you have the data and once you can see it, it becomes very easy to say, this is how we can improve it. So that's really what the strategist does, and that's the tool that they use. We're using Figma for mockups, right? We have a designer. The same designer that designs our ads for our clients is also doing these Figma mockups. A mockup is basically a carbon copy of how we want the end, whether it's PDP, collections page, navigation, whatever thing we're testing to look. And why we're doing that is because the developer now has a clear visual for what they need to go and build in Shopify, whether it's through custom code, whether it's through using native sections, all that stuff, whether it's on landing pages. So that's Figma, and then IntelliGems is actually where we set up the test and run it. So
Yeah.
if you're familiar with Google Optimize, where you could, it's the thing that actually allows you to split traffic either between two pages. IntelliGems is cool because you can also do theme versus theme testing for changes like
Price
collections
testing
pages. Price testing
is a big one.
huge one.
Yeah. So IntelliGems is, I know that we got into a tangent about tools, but everybody asks for the tools and they're the nuggets, right? So IntelliGems is not to build, it's to split test.
Yeah.
You need a page builder, a developer, right? We like to do all our tests either on Replo or Gem pages.
Right.
Very simple to use. The only caveat is that they tend to be slower pages. So you have to hire somebody, maybe 20, 30 bucks a page, 50 bucks a page max, to just make it fast. Because then it's gonna ruin your hypothesis because it's a slow page.
One quick note on that for page speed. As you get into 8 figures, every single like millisecond matters so much. Some of our bigger clients use a tool called Nostra, Nostra.ai. It's a tool that's been around for a few years. Some of our clients were early adopters of this tool, but it basically, for the nerds out there, it loads your whole website like on a already cached, whatever, on an edge server, which means that when you search for the website, it doesn't have to load everything for you. It's already loaded.
It's preloaded.
It's preloaded. So it like
wow.
Lighthouse, like those like GT metrics, like the scores are like high 90s for desktop and mobile, which very, 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 very difficult to get to if you're just optimizing JS and minimizing images. Like we've tried it.
We're getting technical here.
This is what I said. This is for the nerds. So maybe more on that for another episode. But yeah, let's get back to the CRO side. So yeah, that's really the team. Strategist, developer. We have someone who designs them, the mock-ups. But yeah, that's another really, really
I'm
important
really
part.
surprised, like when I speak to like even businesses that do like 5-6 million, they just don't have a CRO department. I'm like,
yeah,
like you're leaving so much money on the table.
Yeah.
Even having one person just take care of that part, gonna be a game changer.
And again, you could find a full stack marketer. They do exist, right? They're like unicorns.
But you know why I don't like that? It's because the reason, like for email, for example, I have a VA, I have a designer, I have a copywriter, and I have an email. The reason I have the structure, and I'm not saying it's the only structure, is because if you give people a lot of things to do, they will burn out. Mm-hmm. They will not like essentially what they do, and they will have energies put in a bunch of different buckets, which will allow them not to perform at their full potential. So if I have a copywriter, I want them to do copy, done. I want a VA to just do that, and then I want the strategist to just come up with the overall strategy. If the email strategist needs to come up with all of these pieces, they get burnt. And I've tried that. They're like, I can't handle it. We need to hire, like, I need some support. And so I just dissected the roles based on also how much each role would cost, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. We do that in our agency. I'm more so looking at, like, let's say an ecom brand owner watching this are like, okay, this is a long bill of people to hire and pay. Maybe it's just not possible, not feasible. They want to do CRO, but there's physically, like, for us to hire a CRO person, we can't do it. And that's when potentially looking at that, someone who could do creative media buying, CRO, offer test, like those people do exist, right? But again, there's a lot more risk because that person is responsible for so many important parts of the business.
Yeah, I know it's more risky. So what I would recommend is like maybe start with that. Yeah. If you can find other people, do it and just hire them part time.
Yeah.
Like it's like you can find contractors that you can pay like, for some hours of during the week, maybe like even 5 hours a week, like 7 hours a week, 10 hours a week, which is nothing. It's not even part-time. I think part-time is 20, right? And you can just hire fractional people that just go in and make a difference. And then when it's the right time, you can just hire them part-time or full-time.
Yeah.
So people don't even think that's possible, but contractors will do that.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you want to touch on with
I think
team?
we touched, it's been, I think, 45 minutes, close to an hour. I think we touched on a lot of things. I would like to conclude with what are the pros and cons of having an in-house team, and what are the pros and cons of maybe outsourcing this to somebody else like us, and let's be honest about these things.
Okay, let's start with the in-house team. Pros, as you said, you have control, right? They're your team. If they're freelancers and contractors, they're not only working for you. That's kind of maybe a con if you're doing that way. If they're full-time employees and only working for you, then you know that they're fully dedicated on your business.
Yeah.
What would you say is another pro to having an in-house team?
You can build your own systems and processes and know exactly how scaling an e-commerce team actually, like what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's weird to say. It's very vague to say, maybe. It's hard to explain, but you have an entire map of your company.
Yeah.
And you have control, which is basically control, right?
Yeah.
So that's the pro. And the other pro is like very fast communication. And I mean, I'm not saying all agencies have poor communication. In fact, like what we do in our company is like we over communicate all the time. So it's not always, but most of the times you're gonna see that agencies, because they have other clients, maybe like 50 other clients, right? It just doesn't, you're not a priority for them. And so it doesn't really make sense in some cases.
Yeah.
Right. So you have full control. You're also honestly building a team is fulfilling. It's for me that I built a team. We're like 15 at this point.
Yeah.
It's like very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it also allows you to elaborate on culture, because growing a company requires culture. And if you can build your own culture, your company will grow.
Yeah.
It's like an indirect byproduct.
Yeah. So control, speed, fulfillment, culture, maybe enterprise value. If you're looking to sell, you have your own in-house team. That's like a strong yes on the.
I think it's a stronger proposition.
Yeah, because if you have an agency, there's obviously more risk with that.
Everybody hires agencies, so it's kind of like the buyer. If there's an agency that the company is working with, like the buyer of the company is buying a company like that has 2 or 3 agencies, it's very common.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's more powerful to have in-house teams.
Yeah.
Right.
I think,
which is weird said by us, right?
Yeah.
But it's the reality.
I think it also, as I said, depends on the buyer, because the buyer may see that they have their own agencies that they work with, and really they prefer to work with those because maybe it is more cost effective and they can lower the operating expenses of the business and make it more profitable by outsourcing that. So I guess 2 directions, right? And then there's an argument for both.
Cool. What are the cons of building an in-house team?
The first one is cost, right? As you can imagine going through this, yes, you can hire people freelance, but even then, the costs start to add up, right? And
if you want good people, by the way, we're not talking about people that are like, $3 an hour, $5 an hour, $10. Like we're talking about people that have experience, and people that have experience want to get paid.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
That's the one thing on my mind.
So cost.
Yeah.
Second thing is building systems and processes, SOPs, that allow all of these team members to work together. As I said, it's not, in-house team, hire 10 people, and then they just work together magically.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, right? So you need to build systems and processes to allow them to work together, and then you need to hire another person that optimizes these systems and processes to make a team even more efficient. As I said before, hire somebody that can manage the people that you hired.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to end up doing it yourself, and then you're going to be like, why did I hire this team?
Yeah.
You're going to spend more time than you probably would.
More time
doing
and more money because you're paying for them as well.
Yeah.
So it can be a burden if you don't know how to build it.
Yeah. Another con is, I guess, more risk, right? Let's just say, maybe if you have freelancers and contractors, not so much, but let's just say, the economy takes a downturn. You need to get rid of these people. Like layoffs are, we all know that it's a real thing, right? You see it all the time. When economy conditions change or the business, maybe no longer is profitable, things change in the market, the offer no longer works. Because if you're at like mid to late 7 figures, your business in the grand scheme of things is still not that big. You're still a small business, right? Getting into like the 8-figure range, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, and now you're starting to become maybe mid-size. There's a lot riding on, like, as I said, if you only have one product, like one main hero product or a few products, you don't have maybe very good retention and marketing. Like, to build all this in-house team is going to add a lot of risk. to
yeah.
your
I just
your
want,
business.
yeah, it makes sense. I would just wanted to point out that if you're getting to like, if you're doing like 50 million a year, 20 million a year,
Yeah.
most businesses have in-house team members. Like you have executive assistants, people that help with product launches, or
Yep.
like they have these team. We're mostly also just talking about the digital marketing components
Yep.
of an e-commerce brand. So like the creative team, the email team, right? Of course, you're gonna have like people within the organization that will support and help,
Yep.
right? And many times whenever we work with brands, those are the people we communicate with, right?
Yeah.
Like head of CMO or head of e-commerce, right? They are like experts in e-com, but they don't do like all the things that are required to get results,
Yeah.
right? Like building campaigns, launching creatives, like those are the very technical things, the raw things, right?
Yeah, things like customer experience as well. You might want a head of customer experience, but then you might be able to outsource your actual customer experience reps,
Yeah.
or customer service, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Any more cons on like the in-house team, or do you want to move to the agency?
Let's do the agency now. I think we discussed enough there.
Pros of having an agency.
So let's start with the cons.
Okay.
Cons.
Cons.
Leave the pros for later. What are the cons?
Con of having an agency. I mean, you're never going to be priority, right? Unless an agency has like one client. But listen, like, let's be real. Agency, even if they have 10 clients, which is kind of our model, right? We work with less clients,
Yeah,
both
but
of us.
That's what most agencies don't have. They have like 50
Yeah,
clients.
most agencies have
30
50. Like, they want to go mass scale. You're just a number.
It's a sales game for them.
Yeah. With us, both of us, Brando and I, we have smaller agencies. Our model is we partner with less brands. And because of that, we're able to have more focus on each of those brands and scale them further. We have performance-based deals, which means that it's very cost effective for the brand to hire us.
Yeah.
It's a fraction of the cost of building an in-house team. But we also get that added incentive of aligned
If
growth.
we get results, then we get
Yes.
paid more. But also we have like, at least for me, we have more team members than clients.
Yeah.
Like we have double the team members than the clients we serve.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, moving on to cons.
Yeah.
So not priority.
So not priority, which obviously means that, look, you're not going to be able to move as fast if you had people working directly for you, right? An agency needs to service all their clients. They may prioritize you over others, but still they have other work to do, right?
Yeah.
So speed is a factor here.
Yeah. Also can be speed.
Yeah.
I guess it depends, but it can be a big and like take everything that we say like pros and cons with a grain of salt, because each company, each agency is built in a different way.
Yeah.
So there's amazing companies, then of course the ones that just are not structured well to serve clients, right?
Yeah.
So take everything with a grain of salt. Another one is we talked about what speed. You're not a priority, and also some agencies will not share the assets with you.
Yeah.
This is a big
Drives me
one.
crazy.
Like this is a huge one. Some agency will just not like if they do a creative project for you, UGC, they will like in the agreement like they own that unless you pay them $20,000, like something like that. So we're building all of this enterprise value not to keep it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's absurd.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's like a con and a pro if you flip it. The pro to that would be what we do, right? Which is everything that we build for our clients, they own, right? We're
Yeah.
building the systems. Like if we part ways with
Yeah,
a client,
yeah,
we
yeah.
give them all the Notion systems. Like that's
Yeah.
theirs to
We're,
keep.
we're talking about the traditional
Yeah, I know.
agency
That's why I
model.
said you
Yeah.
could flip it to a pro if you
Yeah.
work with the right agency.
Yeah. And what else? What's another con?
A con of having an agency, I guess, is like you don't have control over the team members that they put in your account.
Yeah.
So, look, if the agency takes a turn and for whatever reason they change who's working on your business, the people that they change you to may not be as good, and now you don't really have control over the results, right?
I have another one. You're reliant on them to scale your company.
Yeah,
And that's the reality of like any type of agency you want to work with, whether you're good or bad.
Yep.
That's the reality of things. You, in some way, shape, or form, they will be in control of your marketing. The good thing, though, that can happen is that working with an agency that allows you to get results is a a great learning curve and kind of like a mentorship
yeah,
on how to manage a team, what worked, what didn't work, especially if the agency gives you and hands on a silver platter everything that they worked on, all the SOPs, all the systems, all of the connections, like the added value. Then of course it's you actually work with an agency to cut your learning curve if you ever want to build a team in-house. So I guess that's the perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think these are the cons. If you have anything else to add.
No, that's all pros.
Okay, let's do the pros. Assuming they're ethical agency that, knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
What are the pros?
First one comes to mind if you work with a good agency is quality, right? Like a great agency
quality from day one.
Yeah, they can do great things for your business, scale, profitability. They really know, like a great agency for me, they know down to the financials. Like we want, like we're looking at our clients' P&Ls. We want to know the profitability. Like we're not just here to run ads. It's like both of us,
it's
like
a growth partner.
It's a partner. We're really coming in and having that perspective. And what it means is that it's aligned incentive, right? You want to grow your business, you have targets, you have profitability targets. The agency needs to be aligned with those. So if you have a great agency, it's a complete game changer for your business. And you can have an agency that feels like an extension of your in-house team.
Yeah.
They match your culture. And yeah, like
it feels like you have an in-house team.
Yeah.
Literally, like it feels like you're part of an in-house team.
And you're buying all that expertise.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2 is you cut your learning curve.
Yep.
And you learn how to manage a team, assuming once again we're talking about an ideal agency that knows what they're doing, right? And then another one is price, how much you can save. Like to hire, like I'm not going to talk about my personal payroll. I think it's private, but if hiring 15 team members, even 10, like it gets really expensive, especially if you have great people, because once again you get what you pay for. As much as like we want to hire somebody that has experience building a 7-figure brand, they're not gonna work. Like there's no reason for them to work with us if we don't pay them or give them a piece of the pie. So my CMO built his own 7-figure brand. He exited it. He still owns 10%, and now he works for me. Like he works for Brand Looks, right? So you get that.
Yeah, like you get some killers. Like
you get wheels.
So killers. Like. Yeah, I know both of our teams. Like obviously, my team's incredible. I know your team's incredible as well. It's like, but we're paying these people, and some of my team members have the piece of the pie. Like they have percentage of profit of the company to incentivize them to do great work for our clients, right? Yeah. Like if you work with the right agency that has that mindset, it's a complete game changer. So you save time, right? Because you're buying that expertise. It's a plug-in to your business, literally a plug-in.
Yeah.
It's
a mentorship as well.
You're learning. And the cost, yeah. So time, learning, money.
Because if we think about it from the money part, it's like hiring 15 people is like tens of hundreds and hundreds, like not thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But working with us, like with our base fees, it's like hiring like 1 or 2 people. It's crazy.
It's crazy
to think about it that way.
Yeah. To build that, like you're basically getting a marketing department for like
the price of 1 or 2 people.
One or 2 people, yeah. And the time aspect as well, like hiring these people is not just like the cost, it's like the money cost, it's the cost of time. Think about how much time it takes to hire all these people. And you're not like, no business owner can sit here and say that every single hire you're going to make the right decision the first time you hire.
I have a big one too. When you hire an in-house team, the HR, you're going to have to hire somebody that takes care of HR, because these people will leave. Shit happens.
Yeah.
And so what happens if your creative strategy guy or gal leaves?
Yeah.
What we have in place is a process where we have backups, we have connections, we can easily replace. Being part of that is a huge mess in itself.
Yeah.
What else? I think we went through.
Yeah, I mean,
there's probably more. There's probably a lot more.
There's more, but like ultimately, it comes down to, I think you can grow faster. I think you can get better results. You get, because you're buying that expertise from the agency, but you're also getting the insights that they have into their other clients that they can apply to you, right? So there's more vantage points that they have into other businesses that they
Yeah.
can then apply to yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spoke about time. We spoke about
Money.
money. Like those are the main things that you want. Like, what more do you want as a business,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But listen, unbiased. That's just the raw facts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, caveat: you need to work with the right agency, right? You can't have some cowboys. It's just a sales agency, churn and burn.
Yeah.
You got to be careful of that. So if you are looking at working with an agency, please do your due diligence.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. By the way, we are at time. So yeah, this was a great one. I think there's so much ground we covered here.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a quick note for just a quick CTA for everyone.
Yeah.
We have audits that we open. We audit brands. We're more than happy
Yeah.
to hop on calls and actually do free audits. It's not about just it's not a sales call. It's really just a conversation that we have where we see what opportunities there are to get your business to the next level.
Yep.
If it makes sense to partner up and do something together, good. If it doesn't, still it's business. It's fine, but we're still going to analyze and dissect your business in the best way. So if you want, you can book a call. If you're a brand doing over 50, 100K a month, that would be the qualification.
Yeah.
And
very similar thing for us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Brandon
for
and I,
both. I was referring to both, yeah.
Yeah, run pretty much identical agencies. And I think for both of us, like whenever we have a call with a business owner, like we're going to leave you in a better place than we found you.
Yeah.
Because we honestly, like, sometimes we don't even have space for more clients, but we just want to add value, right? We just want to help because there's so much information out there. A lot of it's good, most of it's bad, and it's really, really hard to navigate this like kind of area as a business owner.
100%.
So yeah,
Cool.
it's been amazing. We'll see you guys
in the next one.